Hello, welcome to the homestead. In North Carolina we have all kinds of fun things. We have wetness because it has been raining, and also the season of falling leaves, which is called?
Fall.
That's what it's called fall. That's why it's called fall, right?
Right.
It's the season of falling leaves.
Autumn.
So welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you're visiting with us, I want to extend to you a very, very warm welcome. If you have been here before, welcome to the homestead again. If today is your birthday, we want to wish you a very happy birthday. Well, welcome to the shop. As you can see, we have put the lathe to use already. I'm learning how to lathe, and we're going to publish the video of beginning lathe techniques. And as you can see, we've done quite a lot of work. There is a lot of sawdust on the lathe. And today's project will be a twofold project. I want to make a box to put the lathe tools in. And the reason for that is I don't have any box that is this dimension, this length. And I don't want to put them in a big box because they can be hitting each other and be damaged when we transport them. So we're going to make a fairly shallow box to put our lathe tools. And before we make that, we're going to kick it up a notch in the form cedar fencing wood into this beautiful cedar box to house our chisels for our lathe. So stick around, and as always, we're going to show you every step of the way. And this will be the fourth box we've made in the channel. So now you have 4 different ways to build boxes. Right? Mm-hmm. In the past we've made several boxes, like this is a good example. And this is a cedar box. It smells really nice. And this is a utility box that was made with scraps of plywood. And this is a box we made some time ago. We're still in Kansas. But this is an example of a box that has no metal fasteners, right? Mm-hmm. It's stalled out, and it's a very interesting, what is called a heirloom-like style box. Is that correct?
Yeah.
But today we want to kick it up a notch. I want to make a box, and I might use cedar planks because we have them. But in addition, for it to be fitting these tools, I want to make a box that will use finger joints or box joints, depending on which side of the pond you are, right? Mm-hmm. But in order to do that, I need to make first a finger joint or box joint jig. So we're going to first make the jig and then make the box. So stick around, and hopefully we are not going to fail. So here is our dado stack, which is a set of Freud blades designed exactly for making box joints. And it's supposed to be
Um, 5/8.
no, it's the other one, and it is 5/8 is the arbor. 1/4. No, this side in for 3/8.
Okay.
So did you want 3/8 or 1/4? So this box set allows to have either 1/4 or 3/8 curve, right? And we decided we'll go with 3/8 for our purpose. But the difficulty is that the carbide teeth, and I don't know if you can get it, but they are of course not on the same level as the blade, right? And they should not touch each other when the 2 blades are put together. But for the measuring purposes, we want them to touch each other to confirm that it's the correct measurement. So we're going to put them next to each other now. Again, do not ever run the blade the way we saw it now, right? Mm-hmm. This is very dangerous. All we're doing right now is I'm putting it like that so I can measure the dimension. Which one did you align? I had it aligned and I don't see it aligned anymore.
They're all aligned right now.
Is that inches or millimeter?
That's millimeters, I think.
So this is 0.40, is that correct?
Well, yeah. So
Well, It is what it is. I mean, this is accurate.
it is
But the
what it
question
is.
is it 5/8?
So 0.25 would be 1/4. 0.38 would be around 3/8, so it's very close there.
Okay. Do you want to go for the 2? You're not
Oops.
on the...
I realize that.
That says 0.39.
Okay, so that's
That's it.
Okay.
yep.
So now we're going to install them on the saw. And again, to install them, make sure that you separate them. Because if those teeth are not correctly set, it is very, very dangerous, right? So let's put that away for a moment to change the blade. So again, it is easier if you bring the blade all the way up because it raises the arbor, right? So it's easier for you to work. And then use the... Each saw comes with a set of spanners. What we call them on this side of the pond?
I don't know.
We don't call it spanners.
Wrenches, really.
Wrenches, yeah. Spanners is the other side of the pond. And as you notice, it is not very tight. It doesn't have to be very tight. But it needs to be tight enough that it doesn't come loose while your bait is rotating. And we remove the pressure nut. Did you know that is called the pressure nut? Or compression nut, either way. So now verify that your carbide tips do not touch each other. And verify that they're facing towards you. Alright, so I'm going to turn the blade over a couple of times to ensure that the teeth do not touch each other, right? And I don't see any teeth touching, do you?
No.
And we're going to reassemble. Not disassemble, reassemble.
Reassemble.
And again, do not go crazy, but it needs to be tight enough to allow you Am I using the wrong one? Why doesn't
No,
oh,
that's
there
the
you go.
correct one. You just have to rotate it so it fits in the slot.
Yeah, but I usually don't have that much difficulty. And then you just tighten it a little bit. Again, don't go crazy.
Because you want to be able to get it off again.
Right. In this instance, for us, the plate that comes with the saw is actually wide enough to accommodate our
Data.
our blade. And I use it is not plugged in, by the way. And the reason I do that is I could hear if there is a scraping of teeth. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So the next step we're going to do is we are going to bring our miter gauge and we are going to make our first cut.
We're also going to lower the blade, right?
Again, we said this is 5/8, right? Yeah. Isn't that what we said? And we don't use this.
3/8.
3/8. Where the 5/8 came from.
I don't know. You're adding.
5/8 is the.
So from our scrap bin, we found a piece of wood that I think is appropriate for what we want to do.
There was a bomb that went off
That was
next to me.
interesting, yeah.
Glad I wasn't standing there.
Do we get hazardous pay?
Well, there's no workman's comp here, so I'm probably
That's true.
sure. So I'm sure there's no.
So you can use plywood. Don't use very, very soft wood because the jig will not last long. But we're going to simply put it next to our miter jig here. Now it's important that you're set at 90 degrees, right? And we are set at 90 degrees here. Because if this is off, your jig will be off, right? All right, let us get set up here.
So we want it at the height of the center that's the highest,
Yeah,
correct?
the highest tooth.
Yes.
Is it easier if you rotate it?
Yes.
Okay. So using your calipers, put it on the height you want. We're going to set ours at the height the height that is equal to the width of the board we're using. but it is not a critical measurement.
There. Okay,
2 months, a little, exactly.
I think it's pretty good right there.
right.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So we're going to make our first cut, and it is very important. It is not like it's very important. For me, it's very important. For some people will not. But you notice I'm a little off-centered here. I don't know if you can see it on camera.
Yep.
And the reason for that is we're going to end up moving the piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the first cut we're going to make, we're going to fill it with a rod.
Okay.
And you will see that in a moment. And then we have to move it. And the idea is when I move it, I want it to be a little more centered.
Okay.
So we're going to make our first cut.
Okay.
And here is our first cut. Now comes the fun part. I want to re-measure it to make sure that we are correctly distanced here. And you're going to use the other tanks of the calipers to do this measurement. You see, this is what we used before.
Mm-hmm.
But when you want to go inside here, clearly you cannot do with this.
Right.
So we're going to try and do it with this part of the caliper. And it says 0.38 exactly.
Okay.
So I think we're good there. 0.39 if I push it. So
Yep.
so now we need to find a piece of wood, and we need to cut it at exactly 0.38 or 0.39, whatever your measurement is, right? In our case, it's 0.38. You want to come and sew it out. It's upside down, but you can show that it is 0.39, which is the correct dimension for us, right?
Yep.
So now we're going to go back to our scraps and find a piece of wood that we can mill to this dimension.
Okay.
So we're using one of our precision blocks that is 3/8 as well, which is the size of our blade, right? To make the distance, make sure that you're on your teeth, because again, the carbide teeth protrude towards the fence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to make sure that you're on a carbide tooth. And we are going to lock it in this, and we have a piece of scrap that we're going to use to make our next step, which will be the, what do you call that? The finger? Can you lock it, look? You mind putting it? So let's do a short dry fit and see if our piece is correct. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I mean, it is tight enough that it doesn't fall off, so it's tight enough, I think. What do you guys think?
Sure.
All right, now we're going to have to cut a piece that we put here, but it doesn't have to be that long, maybe that much. We need to cut a very small piece, right?
Okay.
A couple of inches.
So we're going to go in the bandsaw and do that. And we'll be right
Is
back.
that fine?
I guess, yeah. That's fine. And now clean the thicker part. You give me this and cut the thicker part off. Thank you. So what we should end up is with two pieces, a fairly long one and a short one that is going to fit right here. We're going to put a little bit of glue here to make sure that this will not move, because this will get a little bit of stress. It's going to be moving in and out, right? The pieces, the box, this is what decides
That doesn't move in and out, but your piece fits over
Right.
that.
We don't have tight 1-3 loaded?
I can think.
Okay. Want to put it on the piece or on the... It is going out, it's just a thick glue. Which way. I need it this way.
This piece left.
Yeah. So we hit a nail or not? Needs to be flat here. Yeah, that's good. Okay. And make sure it is flush on your tables here. You have a little bit of. Now we're going to give the glue a few moments to dry, because we do not want that moving. That's fine. So we're going to let it dry for a moment. And don't lose this piece. This is very important for our next step, which is to set the dimensions that we need between the key and the opening we're going to be using, right?
Okay.
So use your big piece to put between your key and your blade, and the important thing is that this is flat here, because if it is, what do you call it? If it is
Angled or off.
angled, it's going to change the dimension, right? So it doesn't need a lot of pressure, just kiss it. So the next step is we're going to attach one screw, and one only. Afterwards we're going to put the second, but we only attach one because if we need to move it, we need to go with another screw in a fresh place, right?
Okay.
So let's attach it. Double check that you're in the correct spot and then attach it. Thank you. So it looks good right now, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to make another cut now to make our second opening. And now we're going to make some test cuts. We don't need that anymore. We can.
Okay.
So test cuts. Let's get two pieces of. Put your pieces. Are you recording? Put your pieces next to your blade, and put your blade so it is just kissing the edge. Am I too low? I think I might be a smidge too low.
Just a smidge. There you go. I think that's better.
The magic spot.
Yeah.
Then take your piece and set it, touch it to your key, right?
Mm-hmm.
You made one finger join, right? Then put it over and make the second and move it all the way until you finish, right?
Okay. So you're repeating that process all the way across
Right.
the board. Okay.
So before you remove completely the piece, make a mark that indicates where you were in relationship to your key, right? Because your next piece has to start, instead of a pin, it has to start with a void, right?
Okay.
So what you're going to have to do is actually turn it over. You see my mark facing the blade? Mm-hmm. You're going to turn it over. You're going to put it there, but your other piece next to it, and make your first cut.
Okay.
Now remove the first piece and continue as you did before. So we have the two pieces cut, and we're going to put them together.
nice tight joints.
Yep. And if you're to make a mistake, make them deeper, right? Because then you can use a sander and cut them. And this is kind of a very fibrous wood. But you can see even without glue, this stays.
Yeah.
And this is what you want, right?
Okay.
So
And when you said deeper, so let's just talk about this. So there's a little bit of a
if it is deeper, it will protrude. We could have gone a little deeper. You see,
Right.
now this is flush.
right.
And that's why this is a little, which is fine. I mean, this is not a bad fit at all.
Okay.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks good.
So now we're going to have to cut the real pieces. We are checking the square of our blade because for the jig to work, you have to make sure that your cut is perfectly square. Otherwise, it will give you uneven cuts, right? And one of the easiest tools to use is the 1, 2, 3 block. As you can see, we have put it now in our blade. We are confident our blade is the correct, or not orientation, what do you call
But
it?
it's
Angle.
But it is
a 90 degrees.
Yep.
A proper 90 degrees.
And now we're going to put our 1, 2, 3 block back in its little cage. And we're going to work on finding the dimensions of our final project. Here's one of the board we're going to use for the final project. And we're going to use our longest of the 3 chisels. And we're going to put it there. And you need to remember you have this thickness to account for, right? So let's put one there. And make a mark somewhere. Alright, we can check and see that this is square. If it is not, we can square it. But this would be square.
Okay.
Okay?
And so without measuring, we know that
Right.
this is our length of our
So
board.
the only thing we need to double check is that this is square.
Right.
And we can use our square. So because this cut was done some time ago, right? It's not fresh. We are checking for square. And we are square there. And we're going to check square on the other side. And if we're satisfied, and we are, we're going to take it to the chop saw and cut 2 pieces this dimension. All right? You do your pieces, do the sides. These are the 2 sides for us, right? Do the 2 sides first and then do the 2 end pieces. And you need to flip it over. We're going to show you in a moment. But you do the first side and then you flip it over.
So see the mark?
Right, we have a mark here, and that mark points towards the blade or towards the keys, the same direction, right? Whichever you prefer. So anytime, so when you turn it over, you know to again point towards the blade, right?
So it's pointing towards the blade now.
Right.
We've done our run.
And for this, we're going to do the same. We're taking the X. It's going to be identical to this
I'm
piece.
going to flip it this way
Right,
so that it's still pointing towards the blade,
right,
and then do this end.
right.
So we're going to do the same with the second piece.
Yep. The X's should all be facing the same direction, but it is not as critical.
Okay.
You need a little mallet.
I don't know.
Probably.
I don't have a little mallet, but you want to put glue first because
I don't know that you're going to need glue if these are nice and tight.
you do need
You
glue.
need to go down more on this end.
Well, it might not be because again there are fibers. That's what I mean. Okay,
They're
I'll
even.
put it here on the edge. Better?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
they
so-
protrude a little
yeah.
bit.
Right, but we'll sand them.
But we can sand that. Oh, that's what I was trying to show real quick. So they were a little bit deep,
Yeah.
but we can sand those off.
Okay. You can look at the X. The X, you see all the X's should
That's
be
what
up.
I'm doing. X's. I was looking for the X on this piece.
Okay, bring it over
And-
on the side.
And as you can tell, these joints are very snug, which is exactly what we want.
You might want to make sure that I'm aligned before you start pounding, because these little pieces might come off.
I mean, we do need a little percussive persuasion to make it all together, but as you can see, it stays up by itself, right? I mean. Okay, so you don't take it apart and glue it?
That's completely up to you. It's your box.
I mean, it makes it a little more stable. So, but now we're going to use this finished box to make sure that the dimensions for the top and the bottom are correct.
Okay.
All right. Do you want coarser paper? So we just finished sanding this board, which is going to be used as top. One of the advantages of the box joints is that you don't have to calculate subtracting things, right? In other words, the pieces are exactly the dimension you want them. You don't have to remember about subtracting or adding dimensions. The same with the box. I mean, because the box joints are the same dimension as the width, we end up with a dimension that is similar, right? So this will be our top, and what we're going to do now is we're going to glue and attach the top. You could also do the same for the bottom, but in my case I want the bottom to be inside the box, not to be visible like that, right?
I'm a little confused.
Why?
Why are you gluing the top?
Because you cut the box off. That's how you separate tops. We'll see in a moment.
Okay.
So that's okay, no. So we're going to glue and attach this, and then we are going to, actually first we need to calculate the bottom, right? It will be easier without the top.
Okay.
All right. Bottom. So, and we did it this way so we'll minimize the cuts. So instead of putting it in the middle and drawing a rectangular inside, that will make us make 4 cuts, we're minimizing our cuts by half by putting it actually on the edge here, right?
Both
You
edges.
see?
This edge.
So that edge, and then we're going to have only 2 cuts and we'll be done.
Okay. And so
Does that make sense or not?
remove the box. So essentially we're going to cut this piece off, and then we're
Right.
going to cut that, and this section will fit exactly inside the
Correct.
box. Okay.
So let's do that. So we changed our blade to the normal cutting blade here on our saw, and we're going to cut the second dimension as we saw you before. We went to the chop saw and cut one side, right? And now we're going to cut the other. This is an area, if you want to make an error, you need to error in being proud, because you cannot fix if you're short, right?
Right.
Now an easy way to do it without measuring is we put our piece here and we align our line, and instead of measuring back and forward, we don't really know what the dimension is really, right? You see the line there? You might not be visible on the camera.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it, but it's not very easy to see.
And then
But
what
I
you
promise
do,
it's right there.
and then what you do is you take the board and you go on the other side, and here's your other line.
You kind of see the line there, and then we've put the blade just outside that line.
So again, we don't even know the dimension of this piece.
Right.
We're just doing it. Oops, sorry. Broke it?
Yes, you
All right.
knocked me out of
And then the
focus
vacuum on?
and
Sorry. So I think we need to do something with this, because even inside that's very rough, right? So you want to use it. So here we are. The dimension, this dimension is perfect, the width, but we are a little bit long. And we're just going to use the sander to knock that. It's very little. I don't know if you can see it in the camera.
right. It's just
Not even an eighth.
right.
So we're going to use the sander to knock that off and make it a good fit.
Make it smooth a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. So we're going to put some glue and a couple of brad nails, or even not brad nails. I don't think we need brad nails. Do you want to brad nail it or just glue? Okay. but they will be visible. Try not to have visible things. Maybe 1 or 2 brad nails, not many.
And as you can see, that was just very little sanding, just enough to make the pressure fit good for this piece, right?
Which is why it's better to be proud, because usually you can
Right.
fix it very easily.
Right, okay.
And as you can see, I mean, the bottom doesn't come off. It's a very good fit. So we're going to put some glue and some brad nails, and then we're going to work on the top.
So here we're putting the glue on the inside of the box rather than the bottom piece, so that when the bottom piece comes in, it'll slide into the glue.
This is thick glue, by the way. This is cabinetry glue that we're using. It says thick and thick, quick and thick.
Quick and thick. Okay.
It dries very quickly.
So work quickly, that's the message.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, if you want to, we can hit maybe a couple of grads. It might have started setting already. It's a very quick glue.
Okay, I'm just trying to make it sure it's flat.
And if you notice, our X marks are in the same side, which is another benefit of the X marks, right? It helps you. In our case, we had a very thin side, which made it easy to align them, right? But sometimes it might be innate or something that you cannot perceive by eye.
Right. And by thin, you mean it's just
Right.
this little bitty arm that came out, and that's what made it very easy to align all of your pieces
But if it is
correctly.
not that visible, the alignment marks not only help you align it on the jig, but also help you align it in the assembly process.
Okay.
All right, so now the next step will be our top.
So I do want to point out the design decision about not knocking off these bits that are protruding. You can choose to keep them as a design feature or remove them if you'd like them to be completely flush.
And the most common thing is that you keep them. And
Is
that's
it-
the most common approach.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I would have thought it'd be to sand them off.
So now we're putting glue on top. Again, this is thick glue, and if you're very used to the traditional tight bond, you might not realize, you might think you're not putting enough, but you're putting too little, which is the same as not putting enough.
You don't need quite as much, is that what you're saying?
So if you want to,
So just spreading this out to give it a little more surface area. There we go.
you want to align it? Now, if this was not a soap build, I might use some dowels to make it even more decorative, right? To hold it down. But it is a soap build, so either we put nothing or we put brad nails, and in this case we're going to put brad nails.
Okay.
Primarily because we want to finish the project and edit the video so you guys can see it. Otherwise, we could just leave it overnight with a clamp and it would be perfect, right? Maybe in the corners, yeah. Oh no, did we make a mistake? We cannot open our box. We have shown you several methods of making lids in the past, right? We have used rabbits, we have used pieces of wood in very thin plywood box we made, right? That created a rim that you can close the box. So today we're going to show you another good and exciting way to create a box. And we didn't make a mistake actually, this is just the new method we're showing you.
So
Just because we use brad nails here, make sure that you're not going to go deeper than your brad nails, so know the size of your brad nails. So in our next step, you're going to see why that's important, right? So let us set up for the next step. So we're using another storyboard to decide how the width is going to go for our board here. Our
cut.
cut. And we're going to raise the blade just a little bit. We don't need to raise it too much. And what we're going to do, we're going to cut it. Just make sure you cut the top, not the bottom off, right?
Okay.
You want to turn the vacuum on? You can plug. Can't get this plug in.
Details.
So now we have a perfect top. Here, depending on what you're going to use the box for, you could put hinges, right? It's perfect for hinging. I might just put like a little friction fit on this.
Okay.
But the main construction of the box is completed.
Okay, lift it.
And it looks perfect, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
My pants will not operate with that thickness.
So we have some teeny tiny hinges that we're using on this box.
Wait, let me read.
And we're using a punch to mark where we're going
You
to put
can
the
use the
screws.
same. They should be all identical. Just
Yep. And for this length of box, we're going to put 3, putting one in the middle just for some stability. The wood is a little soft, so that's going to help hold them in.
and that's the main reason we put 3, because it is
Right.
light, but it's also soft. So that is a negative. Okay.
All right.
So, what material are these screws? They're not magnetic.
And so this is actually an electronics screwdriver because the screws are so petite. But we did have one, so
Petite,
that's good.
huh?
Yes, they are petite. Petite.
Un peu petite.
Un peu.
We're educated it here in the channel. Do you want to do it? Will it be easier for one of us to do it versus 2 of us?
And again, we're using the spots that were used with the punch earlier just to align these. That's what we were doing to make sure that we get them there in the right spot and straight.
You want them straight too?
Straight, yes. I think the box wouldn't open very well if the hinges weren't straight.
Oh, we want them to open? I mean,
Well, details,
I
right?
thought it was decorative.
Details.
Apparently 2 people doing a screw is not an effective way of doing it.
No?
Two people screwing is a good thing, actually.
Well, it didn't seem to be.
You have to coordinate better than that, I think.
Maybe we can ask our viewers for a vote.
You
Well,
should do that.
definitely, I think when 2 people are screwing, you have to be very coordinated,
Yes, indeed.
or somebody gets hurt.
Right.
You two are so funny. And by funny, I mean not.
Well, ask the viewers if we're funny.
Okay, we'll do
We're just
A
being
poll.
real.
a poll.
We're just being real.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. We're
That's what I'm
also
doing.
starting to get bitten by the flying
There
bitey
are nothing
bugs.
flying.
Okay, they don't like you as well as they like me, but I'm telling you, they're starting to come out. We've been safe all day because of the rain, and now they're starting to come out.
We don't need box decoration. Right?
No?
So this then is the 3rd way we saw you, or the 4th, the 3rd way I think, on how to make a box, right?
This is the 4th box.
The 4th? Okay.
We have 3 over there, so
And
this
they're
would
all
be number
different.
4, yeah.
This can be a little unnerving because you're done with the project and then you take the blade to it, right?
Yeah.
But The hard part in the hinges is the other part, the next part. And I think we'll put the box here so it will be, you can press it against it, you know. So we put a little bit of a, what is that, a foam insert? Just to cushion a little bit our chisels. And we did decide to go with hinges, as you already know. And of course we also decided to go with the little lugs. We happen to have those things.
In our box of beautiful things.
I have no idea how expensive they are. I mean, really I wouldn't have done it normally for a box, but it is supposed to be a soft box, you know?
But because it's holding tools that are sharp and we don't want them to fall out of the box ever, we wanted the lid to be secure.
Yes.
So you can see the finished product.
Okay, let's get the chisels and put them in there.
And hopefully we did it right.
Hopefully.
It would be embarrassing, wouldn't it?
Well,
If we don't
it's a
put
very nice box either way.
And the color of the box goes very well with the chisels.
Oh, it does, yeah. So they fit very nicely in there with some room to spare.
Now if you want to make this into a gift, I would say either plain or sand fully the pieces. We didn't do that. Especially cedar, it comes alive when you completely take the imperfections off, right? And if I was to give it as a gift or a display piece, I would probably put a little bit of oil on it, something to
bring out the grain.
to bring the grain out. I might still do it for this, I don't know.
I think it would be good.
But as you can see, here's our finished product.
Yep. I think it looks really
Let's
good.
talk costs, right? With wood prices being about $10,000 per linear feet,
Yeah.
this is $1 million worth of box. No,
It is.
I'm joking, of course. This is actually used. This is actually built using picket fence
Fence
material.
pickets. Fence pickets.
Fence pickets, which is very inexpensive. In our area, is about $3 a board, right? And you will use about 2 boards for our size. You can easily make a box using 1 board, right? But let's say 2. So this about $6, and let's say the hardware is $4, and I'm exaggerating the price here, for sure, right? For 3 hinges and 1 latch. So under $10, you can have a cedar box that if you spend a little more time with finishing, it will be suitable for any gift, right? In fact, I think this would be perfect to present a bottle of wine in it, right?
Oh yeah, that'd be a great Christmas gift.
So if you want to make it for your friends and kick it up a notch, I might even use my laser engraver and put something here, you know? Like tools, something very creative. No?
Tools is very creative, yes.
Oh, I guess it isn't creative. All right, folks. Ladies, lessons learned. What can we tell our users about if they tackle this product?
Make sure your boards are completely square when you're doing your joint there.
Right, we found out, and that's why it's great to use some scrap first.
Right.
When we're doing our scrap, we had difficulties with the joints, what do you call it, the voids between the
They were stair
box
stepping.
joints, being the similar size, and we could not find what we were doing wrong. And finally, I don't remember if it was Mrs. Wizard or Lupita, because they were in a different point of view, they could see better. They realized that the board actually was not cut straight. And that created a headache that was easily avoidable. So make sure that your board is cut straight, and then you will have no difficulty. So this is a project that, including making the jig, you can easily do in a couple of hours, right? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. Depends, of course, on whether you need to plane your boards, how much sanding you have to do, and the type of finish you're doing. Is it a rough shop type box, or is it a gift box? So maybe a little bit longer, but still an afternoon or a day project.
In our case, the only thing I would have done really different is run them through the planer.
Yeah.
Because we do have some variation of thickness. Again, these are intended to be fence material. It's not intended to be fine furniture material, right?
Right.
You can still use it. If you have a planer will be perfect. If you don't have a planer, just sand meticulously. Can you believe I actually said that?
Meticulously.
Sand.
I
Forget the
know.
meticulously, but you know.
I know. But yeah, so the planer would make them all the same thickness and make your job a little bit easier.
We had very little difficulty. We had a few difficult points because of the thickness, but
Right, but not many.
nothing major.
Okay.
Well, folks, this is our final product. and it is exactly what we thought we were building, which is usually a good thing.
Yeah.
And my chisels are very happy in there, right?
Yes, they are.
I would put a couple of those silica boxes to prevent them from rusting. You know, the ones that your dog
Oh,
is
the
not
little
supposed to get.
silica
Yeah.
packets. Mm-hmm.
Because here in North Carolina, humidity is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
If you did like this video, we do ask you that you give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, you can press the other button twice. Share, like, subscribe, and let us know what else you might want to see in future episodes of the Urban Homesteading Channel. From Dr. Wizard, Mrs. Wizard, and Elpida, stay safe, wash your hands, put your masks on, get vaccinated, so we can see you again in our next episode. Stay safe, friends.